To learn to live the off-grid lifestyle and to be inspired to live your dreams, click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Click the bell notification. It's all free. It's a cold day today. Tonight's supposed to get below freezing, so I think in the 20s tonight. So Carolyn's trying to get some laundry caught up before it starts to freeze. We try to do laundry 3 times, 4 times a week as frequently as possible because you don't want the laundry to build up because we do them by hand. During the summer, laundry is not that difficult. We got these 2 laundry room sinks, and so we fill those up. I just keep them filled. She does laundry. She can go out there and use them anytime she wants. But as it gets colder, you know, we don't want the water to freeze. And now she'll do the laundry in the house with a bucket and a toilet plunger, a clean toilet plunger. Then she'd take it out to the sink and she can rinse them. That keeps her hands from having to get into the water so much. I've tried to convince her to buy a pair of insulated gloves. I have a pair of insulated gloves that are waterproof, and watering the chickens, oh man, that saves the hands. Wish they had those when I was a kid. So unfortunately today it's a bit cloudy, so I won't be able to run the well pump off the solar panels. The well pump takes about 1,000 watts, which is what the solar panels can produce. That means I got to run the generator, but the generator is getting kind of old and cranky, and so it takes a little bit of work nowadays to get it to do what I want it to do. I thought it was a spark plug. I changed the spark plug on the generator a while back, but it's not. It's just, I don't know why it won't get enough oxygen, but I had to take the cover off here. I know some people have said, why don't I drill a hole in the cover? Well, I'd rather not tear it up any more than I have to. So I just take the cover off, and then I take the air cover off. That's it, not the air filter, but just the cover. Now it will get enough oxygen to run. Otherwise, with the well taking so much power, this thing starts to surge. Now I've got this little piece of coroplast on here, keep it from getting rained on, all the electrical components. It's starting to get old, I need to replace it. So I'll just pull the choke out. As old as it is, this thing's like 3 years old, and I run it all the time. It still starts on the first pull, so I got to speed it up for the well pump. Now I have 2 nozzles coming out of the well. One I have for clean water, and then the other nozzle I have for dirty water or whatever you want to do. It's hard to explain why I did it this way. I have a hole in the hose, this right here, so water will drain back down into it so it won't freeze. I've explained that many times. So when I shut it off, the water falls back down. Well, this hose has filters on it. You can see the filters right there. When I shut the well pump off, water gets sucked back up into it. Well, I don't want all that dirty water, unfiltered water, whatever you want to call it, going back down into the well. So before I shut it off, I switch these. That way, it just sucks air, not water. Now this hose, I have to put away tonight because those filters will freeze and I don't want them cracking or anything. So I put it in the tank box, and I'll show you that in a bit. But right now I have to hook up another hose to this. My hose isn't quite long enough, so I have to put a second hose on. I should have done that before I started, but I was busy talking to the camera. But everything gets a little bit more difficult when it gets cold out here. Carolyn's wash machine set up here. So I'll fill this sink up here and she'll do her rinsing it. Now she's got 2 sinks, so in the summertime she washes in one, rinses in the other. And then she has this gadget right here, and it's a spinner. It spins the laundry just like your wash machine does. It goes really fast. It's a manual spinner. Get that off Amazon. She's got 2 of these. This one froze up last winter, so I had to figure out how to fix it. So in the meantime, we bought her a second one. I just found out it was a bearing that got froze up, so I bought a new bearing and fixed it. So now she has 2. One has hardly ever been used, I think maybe once or twice, but she uses the heck out of this. She really likes it. Gives her a lot of exercise pulling it up and down. Now while I'm filling this up, I'll fill my water tank also before it freezes so we can get some hot water in there. So tonight it's going to get down to 28 degrees, but the water coming out of the well is going to be in the 50s to 60 range. So I'll warm the temperature of the tank the best I can. That'll keep it from freezing. Also, I've showed you all the ventilation in a previous video, and I'll put a link to that video on the screen right here at the end of this video. And I'd appreciate it if you'd watch it. It tells YouTube that you like this video. And it'll also show you how we've ran ventilation into this house. So this is a tank, 275 gallons. I got almost 100 gallons. That's probably 80 gallons right here that I've used in the last 2 days. So what we do to purify this is we put bleach in it. And you can go to the FDA to find out how to bleach your water, but that keeps it from molding and any bacteria that might be in the water. My well is really old and I've never tested it. I don't intend to test it, but I did a lot of repairs on it over the last spring, last past spring. And it's really clean now. It used to be really dirty after a huge rain, but now it's pretty clean. But I still purify it just in case there's something in it. Now yesterday, I had a problem with the RV pump. The RV pump pumps water from the tank into the house. And I've run into this problem several times. Normally what I have to do is replace the RV pump, but those are $30 a piece. And if I have to replace those, 2 or 3 times a year, it gets a little expensive. I had an older one that was just a little pressure connection. It would just shut off when it got over pressurized. But they've redesigned them. And so now they come with a little pressure switch. And so this pressure switch, I'll click it next to the mic. Well, that gets corroded for whatever reason. I've done different things. I've tried to put different oils on it, WD-40. Well, it either gets corroded or dirty. What happens is when this clicks, there's a spark in between the two the connections, and that spark tends to get corroded. Well, I've cleaned them in the past. That seems to work a little bit, but it doesn't last very long. Well, I found the switches on Amazon. The number was right on the side of the switch, so I went ahead and got the switches. They're not very expensive. So yesterday I was able to replace the switch and get that pump working again. It works like new now. It's great. That'll save us some money. I always have a backup pump. I've got a backup well pump in case something goes wrong with the well. I've got a backup RV pump. I've got a backup water heater. So tonight will be the real test of all the ventilation that we've put in place. Make sure everything doesn't freeze up. Right now it's really windy and the temperature outside is probably high 30s. And in the tank, well, I just opened the tank, but in the tank it was right at 50 degrees. So we're getting a nice little transfer of heat from the house into the tank. Again, you gotta watch that other video. So now the sink is full. I'm gonna start filling the water tank, the IBC tank. Okay, so now I'll fill it. Now I'm gonna put in my bleach. I use a cap. I know how many caps it takes. Again, I'm not going to tell you how much bleach to use. You need to go to the FDA's website. They'll tell you how much bleach to use well, they got different measurements per gallon, per 5 gallons. Now, if you're worried about bleach being in your water, remember, bleach evaporates. So you can either let it sit on the counter, it'll evaporate out, or you can boil it out. Now we have a Berkey, so the Berkey removes the chlorine. So we're getting all kinds of filtration. We got the filtration coming into the tank. We purify it with the bleach, and then we purify it again with the Berkey. So something else I got to keep in mind is the chicken water. This is one of the buckets that we use to water our chicken. These little red things, the water comes out and fills up these red things here. The problem is it's going to get so cold now that the water's going to freeze, so this won't be effective. And instead of filling these up all the time, thawing them out, what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and use the little feeders. I'll come out every few hours during the winter and I'll change these out. I'll take the frozen one up to the house, put it next to the wood stove, let it thaw out, take the thawed one out, take it back down to chickens. This is a process. This is going to be something that we always have to keep mindful of. The chickens don't drink as much water during the winter as they do in the summer, but I want to make sure they always got fresh water. When we go somewhere, I got to keep in mind that we got to get back so we can make sure the chickens have water. Now, all that being said, the temperatures here in Missouri don't usually stay that cold for that long. Typically, you'll get below freezing at nighttime, and then during the day, it'll warm back up. But that big bucket, that's not going to thaw out. If it freezes, it'll be frozen for a while. Those little feeders would do all right. Now, when it gets down to February time frame, then we get below zero, and it stays below zero for a few weeks, or at least below freezing, I should say. But I think I got everything finally resolved. I got the tank where it's staying warm enough. We got the laundry situation figured out. That's another thing we have to consider, is now that it's wintertime, we got to warm the water up so it's not so cold on our hands. That's more propane running the water heater. Now, propane costs have went through the roof. When the wood stove's running, we can put a big pot of water on the wood stove. That'd get it up to temperature enough that it would warm up, it wouldn't hurt our hands. All right, so the water's all filled, sinks are done, tank's done. So I'm gonna shut off the water. So that means I'm gonna switch it over, like I said earlier. I'm gonna shut off this hose here. So now the water sprays out. That way when I shut the generator off, that water will suck back into that pipe without sucking all that dirty water in from the RV hose. So I want to make sure that I put my cover back on to the air filter, and I can get the other thing later. I probably have to run the generator tonight because it's so cloudy. That's Rue. That's not Frenchie. For those who think that's going to be Frenchie, that's not. Rue has a much weaker, it's very weak. And Rue does his crowing in the afternoon. Frenchie does his in the morning. So if you can click onto that video, check out how I've kept that tank warm, I'd appreciate it. It helps the algorithm know that you like this video. So I hope I can inspire you to have a sense of pride when you're living your dream. Thanks for watching.